Hello everyone, I'm Hannah.
And I'm Emily.
And we are the hosts of the I Don't Think So podcast. Each episode, we discuss a different story, theory, or mystery, and decide if we think it's believable or if we really don't think so.
Here at the I Don't Think So podcast, we are affiliated with Flurry Sports, and we present our theories, mysteries, and tales on your favorite place to listen to podcasts every single Wednesday. If you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a like, a share. Go ahead and follow us on X. Everything else at I Don't Think So _EH. Threads. There we go. Instagram, as well as our YouTube channel, which is IDTS
Conspiracies. Excellent. Well, how are you feeling today, Emily?
Good. I mean, well,
that was a loaded question. That was a loaded question.
Downhill trend really quickly. Better than I am this morning. We got, like those 2.5 inches of snow on Halloween. Talking to you in the past, everybody, sorry. And it was one of those things that it brought back all those memories of the times that you had such a cute Halloween costume and it snowed and it got ruined because then you had to throw on your big winter jacket and your winter boots and mittens and a hat and you're like, I was a princess and now I look not like a princess and I'm upset.
Nothing causes more fights than telling a child that they have to put a coat over their costume.
Yeah.
And, I get it. I don't want to be the buzzkill, but, also, you're going out to play for an hour. You're going to get cold.
You're going to put a coat on. Sorry. And I get it. We talked about this a few weeks ago when we talked about our favorite Halloween costumes. Maybe that was last week. No, a couple weeks ago. Any whoosies. And I talked about, I matured very young, and so all my costumes were short, tight, and thin. And
that doesn't work with snow.
It doesn't work with 20-degree weather and the wind's blowing and there's 1.5 inches of snow on the ground.
But now it's November. We probably have way more snow than what we have now, and we're probably really sad about it.
Check with me then.
Anywho, we are on week 3 of our true crime month, and I did another cold case.
Oh my gosh, look at us.
This one is international, though.
Ooh,
I'd never heard of it, but apparently it's one of Germany's greatest mysteries.
We're German.
Yeah, part of it. Partly German.
Yeah, good stuff.
That does not mean I'm going to pronounce these names correct.
We are distantly German at this point.
If anything, I sound more Scandinavian than German.
I sound like I'm from Canada half the time, so.
But bear with me, and I think you'll like the story. Or at least you'll be interested. Like is a strong term. Anywho, we are talking about the Hinterkaifeck Murders. Have you ever heard of that?
No, Hinter sounds like something, but I think I'm thinking of the chocolate.
It's the name of the farm. I had never, they called it the Hinterkaifeck Farm. Never heard of it.
No, I'm thinking of Hinder chocolate.
Love.
Oh,
nothing to do with this story, but great transition.
You're welcome.
Anywho, on March 31st, 1922, 6 people ended up getting murdered at the Gruber family farm called Hinterkaifeck, which is in Bavaria, Germany. So that included 5 members of the Gruber family along with their maid. So,
boomer.
The 6 inhabitants of this small Bavarian farm, which is located approximately 70 kilometers or 43 miles north of Munich, Germany, just to kind of give you a picture of where we're at.
Perfect.
I know where Munich,
Germany is.
But you could Google it.
Well, right. And I mean, Germany is what, the size of Wisconsin, isn't it?
That sounds right.
It's
not that big.
It's not a huge, so it'd be from here to, I'm trying to think what's 43 minutes away. River Falls?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Crazy.
And I've heard of Bavaria too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So.
Bavarian cream. We're on a food kick there. I apologize, everybody.
inhabitants of this, it was a small farmstead, ended up getting murdered by an unknown assailant. The 6 victims included Andreas Gruber, which was the father, Kazelia Gruber, which is the wife. Andreas was 63, Kazelia 72.
Ooh.
Cougar.
By 9 years. We get a girl.
And then their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, who was aged about 35. And then Victoria's 2 children, Cecilia Jr. the second, but they didn't call her that because she's a woman and, patriarchy issues.
Why did they name her that then?
I don't know. Who was 7, and then her son Joseph, who was 2. And then the maids.
Wait. How old was she? 7?
The
granddaughter. Okay,
yep.
So I was like, she's in her 70s, still pumping kids out in her 60s?
No. So okay. Grandma and grandpa, technically, Andreas, Cecilia, 63, 72.
Okay.
Daughter, 35, Victoria.
Okay.
And then Victoria's children, Cecilia the second, who is 7, and Joseph, who's 2.
Got it.
And then their maid, Maria Baumgartner, who was 44.
Baumgartner?
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, who was 44. All were found struck dead with a mattock, which is also known as a grub axe. But they just were pretty much clocked on the head to be killed. And it's considered one of the most gruesome and puzzling unsolved crimes in Germany. So, what makes it kind of interesting is that 4 bodies were found stacked up in the barn. So the victims had obviously been lured there one by one prior to the incident. And then the rest were found in the house. Now, it was nearly a week before the massacre was discovered. Due part to the remoteness of Hinterkaifeck Farm, but also because of the unpopularity of Andreas, the father, to the community. So no one really wanted to
No one really liked him?
No one really checked on him, so when they didn't hear from him, they're like,
that's fine.
That's too bad. So it was about a week before, it was 6 days, nearly a week before they were discovered. And the reason why people didn't like Andreas was because he was a known bully, wife beater, and had spent a year in prison after being convicted of incest with his widowed daughter, Victoria, who was also one of the victims. So, yeah, which is really bad because he was publicly raping her in town, and they convicted both of them of incest, and they both spent a year in prison.
Are you kidding me?
So she got raped and had to spend a year in prison.
Checks out for women everywhere, isn't that right? Jesus.
Yeah.
That's awful.
So, part of the delay was that part of this delay, because they was unliked, allowed for the perpetrator to get a head start in escaping, and many think this is the significant factor as to why, even though there's been a lengthy investigation and the identification of at least 100 different suspects in the case, it was still never solved. Additionally, there's weird circumstances of strange footsteps being heard in the attic and it being reported to police prior to the murder. So some people believe that the perpetrator might have been living in the house for up to 6 months, hiding there prior to killing the family. And it gave the killer ample time to plot the crime and meticulously follow the routines of the family before he killed them and then leave. So many think that the crime wasn't necessarily impulsive, but they also don't really know because there's no clear suspects.
Yeah.
So there's a couple different bigger suspects that are out there, although again, like they said, there's over 100 that got investigated. So I'm going to give you 2 different theories of people who might be potential suspects in the murder.
Okay.
The first name was Carl Gabriel, who is the husband of the widowed Victoria Gabriel. He had reportedly been killed in December of 1914 during the First World War by a shell attack in Arras, France, but his body had never been rediscovered. And after the murders, people began to speculate about whether he had actually, in fact, died in the war. Victoria had conceived and given birth to her son Joseph in her husband's absence. And the boy was rumored to be the product of an incestuous relationship between her father.
Oh.
But people think it could potentially have also been her husband who could have actually come back and been with her. So people aren't really sure if potentially he came back and was upset about this like incestuous relationship that was so public and then murdered the family because of it. So one theory is that Carl came back and did it. And this is kind of backed up by the fact that some believe to have spotted him later on in a a nearby town later, but under a different name.
Okay.
So people think that maybe he came back, saw what was happening, murdered the family, and then got away and then lived his life under a different name because he supposedly was dead.
Sure. Had to go under an alias of sorts. Gotcha.
Yes. But there's also not a lot of documenting proof to back this up.
Right. My opinion on him is that he didn't do it. It sounds like he died. Because to me, it's like, if your wife is getting raped by her father, why kill everybody? Like your own children?
Including your children, yeah.
And,
I don't really know.
okay.
Second suspect is a man named Lorenz Schlittenbauer. Now,
put it extra.
Shortly after the death of his first wife in 1918, Lorenz Schlittenbauer was believed to have had a relationship with Victoria Gabriel, and he potentially could also be the father of Joseph.
Jesus.
So,
Paternity test back in the day.
I don't want to say Victoria was getting around because one of them was her father.
Yeah.
However,
it doesn't seem promising.
She could have also been getting around. Which to each their own.
I mean, she was widowed.
Yeah. Schlittenbauer came under suspicion by locals early in the investigation because people just thought he was being pretty shady. Immediately after the discovery of the bodies, he was just being very awkward about everything. When he arrived and his friends arrived at the investigation, they had to break a gate in order to enter the barn because all of the doors were locked. However, immediately after finding the 4 bodies in the barn, Schlittenbauer apparently unlocked the front door with a key, like suspiciously, trying to be like, oh, the front door is open.
Oh.
And entered the house alone. A key to the house was reported to have gone missing several days before the murders, though some also believe that he potentially could have had a key because he was a neighbor and Victoria's potential lover, and she could have potentially given him a key. Yeah, but then he didn't want to say, oh, look, it's open, because he didn't want people to know that they were having an affair. That's not really an affair because her husband was technically dead. Or was he? We don't know.
We don't know.
But anyway, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Extramarital affairs kind of thing. Anywho, when asked by his companions why he had gone into the house alone, he was very unclear of if the murderer was still there, and they're like, that's really dangerous. And he said that he went to go look for his son, Joseph. So then he claimed that Joseph was
his son,
but then backtracked and was like, I mean, I was looking for the boy.
Oh, so it's probably his kid. That's really sad.
Now, it is known that Schlittenbauer had disturbed the bodies at the scene.
What do you mean?
Because he had gone in there by himself, and he potentially compromised the investigation. So, for many years after, he was under a lot of suspicion, and he just kept saying weird, strange comments, kind of indicating a different knowledge of details that only maybe a killer could recall.
Oh, no.
But also because he went into the scene before everybody else, so people don't really know. According to his information in the files, Schlittenbauer was continued to visit the remains, and upon being asked why he was there, he stated that the perpetrator's attempt to bury certain remains in the barn was hindered by like the frozen ground, and that's why he thinks the like murderer left the bodies in the barn.
Mm.
And they're like, that's weird.
What? Who says that?
And people are like, well, that shows that he knew what the ground conditions were then.
That night.
But also, it's like October in like a cooler climate, so maybe he just like made a guess.
And he's like, well, I bet you they're in the barn because you can bury them. And it's like, okay.
Why
would you say it anyway?
Yeah, and other people have speculated that he murdered them because Victoria was demanding financial support for Joseph. Before Schlittenbauer's death in 1941, he conducted and won several civil claims against slander against himself because he was being quoted as the murderer of Hinterkaifeck, and he actually won.
Mm-hmm.
So, not saying that he's innocent, but he did win a lot of civil cases saying, like, don't call me a murderer.
Right.
So, those are the two, like, biggest theories, I would say, under who murdered them. Other guesses were, like, these two boys that were, like, local, like, hoodlums in the area. Mm-hmm. Other neighbors that were kind of just shady.
Right, and if no one liked him...
Yeah.
Maybe it was kind of just like a we hate this family
sort
of a vibe. I don't know if I like either of those suspects, really. Like, I think the second guy sounds like an absolute weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, again, it goes back to, like, why would he kill his own son and then immediately, like, run into the house to check on him?
Right.
You know, like, where would the benefit be there? For him to be like, my baby, and then he's like, not my baby. Ugh.
Exactly. And now it's been so long that they can't really do a lot of investigating. And like I said, there's so much time between when they were murdered and when they were discovered that, like, even if it was someone completely random, it's pretty hard to, like, come back and try to figure out who did it.
Right. Because, like, and again, I don't know how cases were solved in the 20s.
No.
Like, before DNA, like, just I've been bamboozled. Like, what do you just walk away and don't say anything.
Right. And if they're hitting them on the head with, like, this axe, like, yeah, there might be DNA on the axe of them touching it, but it's not like there's going to be, like, they got cut or something like that, blood or something.
No, and it like fingerprints and that sort of thing, but those weren't around in the 20s either. And I'm not sure if the axe is still, like, available. And even if it is, you're not fingerprinting these people.
Correct.
Who have long since passed, I would assume.
Exactly. So, it will probably remain unsolved.
It probably will. Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I think it was either of those guys. I wonder if it was somebody else.
Yeah, I don't really know. I could see some, like, I don't know, person that just really didn't like the family just killing them just to get them out of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's also a lot to kill 6 people.
A 2-year-old? Doesn't count. That's not nice. Sorry, everybody.
But
that's
still.
Really gross. But, I mean, it is a lot, and I will not even pretend to understand, like, how do you dislike somebody that much?
Right. Well, if you really didn't like the dad, I get that.
Listen, out of all of them, him getting murdered, not shocking.
No, and not really that upsetting either.
No.
But, like, everybody else
doesn't sound like they really had it coming.
No.
It sounds like he was a really piece of shit.
Yeah.
And then his wife was getting hit by him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what'd she do?
And he was bullying everybody.
He bullied everybody.
Raping his daughter publicly.
Which, again, people, beat the man in the street. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, why are you letting that happen? But
I don't know.
I'm digressing a little here, but I don't know. What a cool case. Cool is, like, not a great word for it.
Just interesting.
A very fascinating case of just, like, who done it, because it doesn't sound like the 2 suspects that, like, are huge really had great. One of them is dead,
supposedly.
And the other
one, honestly, what I think is the craziest is that the biggest suspect is the dead husband.
Dead people kill people. I don't know. Like,
but what if he didn't die?
But then again, why come back and kill your children?
One of his children. One child.
Okay, fine. Why kill the one?
I don't know.
The other one do.
I don't know. I just think it's telling that they investigated, like heavily investigated over 100 people. Not even investigated. They suspected over 100 people and still didn't figure anything out.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really, it's a lot of money, energy, and effort spent into nothing.
Yeah.
Hope all those 6 people, except for Adrian or whatever the hell his name is.
Andreas.
R.I.P. the rest of them. Andreas, I hope you rot.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well.
Cool. Well, that will wrap up our first section. We are going to move on to our next section where we kind of just talk about whatever's on our mind and kind of going off on our little rants here and there, which we've apparently been doing this whole episode talking about food. But
I thought you were going to go back into your spiral of weather.
No. Or weather. My favorite 2 topics.
I literally.
Weather
You're
and
the most
food.
Midwestern person ever because whenever we did our absolutely not, you always somehow turned it back to the weather.
A big hindrance in my life. I don't know what to tell you.
But would never move.
Never. I would hate to live somewhere that's warm all the time. Isn't that crazy?
But you hate the cold.
I don't
You
like
hate
being
the
cold.
snow.
I like looking at the snow if I don't have to go anywhere. I hate driving in snow.
Same. Okay,
Like
sorry.
a normal person.
I didn't mean to ruin your tangent. I just was waiting.
Now we're on weather. Now we're here. Anywho's, so this episode comes out to you in the middle of November here. So Hannah, I wanted to talk to you today about what are your favorite fall activities, because it did snow today, October 31st, it snowed. So it does feel like our fall season is nearing its end. However, I feel like November is very much a fall month still.
Yeah, it is.
But I'm curious, what are your favorite fall activities?
I do really like hiking in the fall because it's not as hot.
Not gonna croak.
And you get to see all the colors. Like for school, we always do a hiking field trip in the fall, and it's always pretty.
Where do you guys go?
The Ice Age Trail in Auburn.
Ah.
And you get to see all the colors, and we talk about the kettles and the moraines and all that jazz.
Pretty.
Landforms.
I love an apple orchard. The apple orchard season is done now.
I like going to apple orchards, and I like doing the whole corn maze thing, but I didn't do any of those recently.
I did not do that this year. I did do it last year. I think my biggest hiccup with both apple orchards and pumpkin patches, now I will kind of divert to that as well, is I am without children.
Yeah.
I don't have kids. And so sometimes when you go, it's
all kid-centered things.
It's all kids stuff, and it's families, which is great, and I'm glad they're out there making their memories. It's just hard being what if I wanted to ride on the hay wagon as a 23-year-old woman? But it's
23.
Am I 20? I'm 24!
Almost 25!
Oh no! I'm getting so old. What do you mean?
You're way off. Not that you're that far off. We're only a year off, but almost 2.
Oh my god. Shut up, I'm gonna throw up. Anyways, I'll be 23 until the day I die. I'm 24.
Newly as in
January.
8 months ago. More than that. 10 months ago.
Why are you doing this to me?
Sorry, I just feel like if I have to say I'm 25, I want you to be almost 25. You know?
Yeah, look at us, old. Anywho's, but yeah, I love those activities. I really didn't do either of those things this year.
No, I do love a haunted house. Actually, I didn't do that yet. I didn't do that this year either. Did it last year, like a haunted trail, haunted whatever. Mm-hmm. And I did go see a scary movie, and that was kind of fun.
Good on you. I don't do scary movies well, especially in the theater. I'm a duck and hide type of person.
Yeah. Oh, I will say just Halloween movie marathon. We did that together. That was fun.
And that was such a good time. I'm also thinking when I think of fall, I think of football games or...
Didn't do that either.
I did go to one football game and it was underwhelming and we left early.
I like watching football on TV.
I have never had better naps than when football's on TV and it's a Sunday midday. Those naps hit differently.
That's true.
Oh, I wake up and it's dark and I'm like, this is great.
I don't love how dark
it's getting.
Yeah.
Preach. Is there any other fall activities you like doing? Fall drives?
I mean, yeah. I think my big thing with fall is just a reminder of how busy I am during the school year. And so it's like I like to do all these things, but I'm just so tired.
Oh my God.
All the time. And then the weather's getting colder, so I just want to like sit.
I always have such a big idea of like when fall comes, when like the winter season comes. I have this weird like Hallmark movie vision in my brain where there's going to be a day where apparently I don't have to go to work and I will be in my PJs, wrapped up in a blanket, drinking nothing but hot tea, hot cocoa, and eating soup and watching movies.
Love that.
In front of a fireplace that we don't own.
Oh.
And
don't you have the fireplace TV stand?
We do have the fireplace TV stand.
Turn it on.
Sit right in front of it, curl up. And I always have this idea of that's what it's going to be. And I'm telling you, I don't do that any year.
Really?
No.
Why? We should do that this year.
No, we could. I don't know. I feel like I'm always busy doing something else. Or I'm like, I love soup. Love a good soup. But I don't know. I'm just the type of person like, I make it for dinner, I eat it, we watch whatever's on TV, and I go to bed.
Yeah. I think one joy of my job is I still get the snow day.
Oh,
which is lovely. I usually end up using it to work.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
At home. But I try during my snow day to take like at least I'll watch a movie and enjoy myself. You know? Get the vibes of like being home from school. That's like I gotta take what I can get.
It's like every kid's dream is a snow day.
Yeah.
You know?
Same thing as a teacher. It's my dream. There's so many times where we're like, you could call it this afternoon, and then I don't have to
even look in the morning.
Yeah. And then they're like, admin's always like, no, we can't do that. We don't know how much snow we're gonna get. And it's like, but you could.
You could. And no one would be mad at you.
No one.
Literally everyone would be thrilled. I had to call a snow day last year, and I don't work in teaching. I work in healthcare, and because I couldn't get out of my garage. There was so much snow packed behind my car. I could not get out. I had to call in and be like, I am stuck.
That's no fun though, because you still have to shovel your stuff out to get going the next day.
Yeah, but they plowed. Oh, so I didn't have to do too much.
That's nice.
But it was quite the bummer for me because I was like, I was up, I was working, I was trying to get my car out. It was a nightmare. And I was like, I
remember you calling me distraught.
That checks out. Good emotional regulation.
I shouldn't laugh. I was just like, girl, that's an L for today.
Go back to bed.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing those fall activities. We'll have to start thinking of some winter ones because with the snow coming,
blah, blah, blah.
Sadly. But when this episode comes out, we're going to be like pretty much ready for Christmas season.
You'll be hearing me holly jolly the whole way home. I almost brought my mini Christmas tree to work today.
Tomorrow is Christmas season. I saw this TikTok where it's like, November 1st is Christmas season. If you want me to unplug my tree on Thanksgiving, that's fine, but it's getting replugged in the next day.
I love Thanksgiving. Don't get me wrong. I love a good one. Next week, we'll be talking about what we're thankful for and have our little Thanksgiving special for you. However, I love Christmas. I just love it. It's such a good feeling. And so I need to decorate my mini Christmas tree that I got for $3 at Target. Thank you.
They give you little mini, like they'll put out mini ornaments soon too.
Perfect. Gives me another excuse to go back to Target.
Well, we hope to hear about all of your things you're grateful for next week. So start thinking about it so you can send them our way. And if you text them to us, we can maybe even talk about some of them.
We love that.
Or not text them. Message. DM. That's the word.
You're going through the list.
Or email. It's like, I'm like the old person when they say they want you to text them something and they're like, I could email you. It's like, you're not emailing me.
I could IM you.
Ooh.
Call
Google
me,
chat
if you want to reach me.
Remember the Google?
Yes, I remember the Google Hangouts. Oh, I still have some of those from like middle school in my
Memories.
thing.
Well,
I digress. AOL, baby.
we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.